Sometimes in gaming, especially on the PC side of things, we're able to get great value for our dollar. Other times, not so much. And this is one of those times. Okay, for this build, I'm just gonna go ahead and hop straight into the build and not take a whole lot of time going over everything because it is so ridiculous, and then we'll have the big price reveal at the end for those of you that aren't really caring enough to keep track of the dollar values as we go along. So first up, obviously, is the Intel Core i5-7640X. This is the new Kaby Lake X quad-core, quad-thread part. So that's an i5 with no hyper-threading still on the X299 platform for reasons I'm sure. Now this i5 processor, for your 4 cores and 4 threads, you will have to pay $250 at least at launch. However, I cannot imagine them moving many of these parts, and I would expect these parts to just sort of fall off the face of the planet price-wise eventually, just in an effort to unload them. I honestly can't see a reason to buy this part, but $250 for an i5. And the killer here is that it has to be paired with an expensive motherboard because X299 is expensive. The cheapest I could find on Newegg, at least right now, and I'm sure more X299 boards will be coming, but the cheapest right now that I saw was the MSI X299 Raider, and this is a $229 board with a couple dollars for shipping, so just call it $230. Now, obviously, with this particular motherboard being an X299 board and supporting quad channel, you actually can't use half of those memory slots, so you'll be stuck with probably just the right bank of memory DIMMs. You'll also be limited on the PCIe configuration that you use because of the PCIe lanes available to that i5 processor, and you'll have to dive into the motherboard's manual to figure out just which slots will be dead for your processor and which ones will interfere with which other ones. It's all sort of motherboard dependent, so check the manual if you're for some reason building this system. Because again, the i5 does not include cooler or thermal paste. We're just gonna pair this thing with one of the cheaper but still highly regarded coolers on the market, and that would be the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. While it's not the dirt cheapest CPU cooler on the market, it is a solid cooler, and I did want to at least give this chip some dignity and give it the potential to have a decent overclock on it. I did not give it the same treatment on the memory side of things. I found the cheapest 8GB kit I could with a quick search on PC Part Picker, and currently that is the Patriot 8GB 2133 kit at $60. We're pairing that with a $19 Western Digital Blue. This is a 7200 RPM drive. It's a mechanical hard drive, and it will get the job done. However, it is just 320 gigs, so there is somewhat of a limited storage there. On the GPU side of things, I figure since we are using a gaming geared type of processor, we might as well pair it with at least a graphics card that can do some gaming, and that would be actually a pretty solid option for 1080p gaming. It's the cheapest 1050 Ti that I could find readily available at $140 normally, and it is a little bit cheaper than that right now. I believe $130 if you take off the rebate. You also get Rocket League free, so there's that.
I will also note, NVIDIA, this is not a $60 value. Rocket League, it's just not.
For our case, we are looking at ATX chassis because it is an ATX motherboard, won't fit in a micro ATX system, so we do have to pay a little bit more for a case. One of the cheapest cases I could find in the ATX form factor, again from PC Part Picker, is the Thermaltake Versa N21 at $40, but there is a $15 rebate card if you go that route with it. And for a power supply, I found the cheapest power supply I could from a very reputable brand, and that would be the EVGA 450BV. It does have the proper connectors to plug into the motherboard, including that 8-pin EPS connector, which is important. Some cheaper power supplies will only have a 4-pin, but that's not what we need for this particular processor and chipset. This is one of the few parts on this PC that actually is a decent buy because it is 80+ bronze certified. It does give you some upgradability in the future because it will support a graphics card that does pull power directly from the power supply, even though the 1050 Ti does not. So there is an upgrade path, at least on the GPU side, for this entire build. And so what's the grand total come in at? $763.58. Holy cow. For that money, you get an i5 processor, which admittedly will overclock like an absolute champ, most likely anyways. But you're also only getting a 1050 Ti and 320 gigabytes of storage, and it's mechanical storage too, on top of 8 gigabytes of slow DDR4 memory. Now that being said, this gaming PC, and that is basically what it sort of is geared towards, will do a great job of 1080p gaming. The graphics card will be the bottleneck on the system, at least in gaming performance. However, for nearly $800, really, we'll even be generous. We'll say for roughly $750, you should be able to get a lot more bang for your buck. And a lot of that is the result directly of an overpriced i5 to begin with, because I don't honestly think with the current CPU market, you should not be spending $250 for 4 threads on 4 cores. But also the chipsets are making the motherboards extremely expensive. So because you have to use an X299 motherboard, you're forced into buying a motherboard that is over $200. By contrast, you could buy a Ryzen 1600, which by the way comes with a decent stock cooler. That's $220, so you're already saving $30 on the CPU side of things. But then you can pair it with a B350 board that roughly would come in at about $100 and save you another $130. So you'd already be up about $160 just going Ryzen. Oh, and I forgot to mention the $25 you would save by not buying that Hyper 212 Evo, because you have a decent stock cooler included with the Ryzen 1600. So this is the dumb build of 2017, at least in my mind. There's really no reason to buy this. If you are really wanting an i5 gaming system, i5 processors are good processors. I'm not trying to knock them down a whole lot. It's just that on the X299 platform, they are not a good value at all. If you do want to go i5, then stick to the mainstream consumer platform. Stick to the Z270 boards. Get yourself an i5 7600K and overclock it. Pair it with a good cooler, just overclock the crap out of it. You'll get virtually identical performance in gaming, and you'll save yourself a ton of money because of the motherboard cost and because the processor itself is a little bit cheaper, especially if you hunt around for a good deal. So that's the Stupid Build 2017. You can find a PC part picker link in the description below, and I'll also go ahead and throw one down there below that's also of a sensible 1080p gaming machine. If you like this content, please give me a like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Tell me what you might think the value of the X299 i5 processor is, if it even has one. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Hoosier Hardware. They're the same tag for your convenience. And as always, guys, we'll queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.